With Inacio Miguel being suspended after picking up his 4th yellow card of the season and Edson Castillo being out for 4 to 5 months due to an injury, how will Nasreddin Nabi pick his team, especially given that we have a League Cup game against Sundowns this coming weekend? Well, as it happens, this video is exactly about that. Hello and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. I am Pilo, I am your host, and this is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Amakhosi Football Club. Can I just say, no one looks better than me in this kit? Anyways, let's start with the goalkeeper, and there would be Fiacre Ntwari, who will be looking to get his first clean sheet in the league, because so far this season he considered against Marumo Gallants, considered against Amazulu, considered against Sundowns, and also considered against SuperSport United. And this is not to say this was his fault, because I saw someone commenting saying, oh, if it was Kune, he was gonna save that. Come on guys, let's just sit down and stop trying to put Kune in every conversation. But let's go to the right back, which is gonna be Uriv Frosler, a very important player to the system that Nasreddin Nabi is trying to play because of his versatility. You saw on Saturday that he started playing as a right back. He was inverting into midfield, but then when Jabulo Blom came in, he went and played left back, and also on that side, he didn't need to overlap, but was also underlapping, adding numbers into midfield. So he's a very crucial player to how Chiefs wants to play, which brings us this guy, Bradley Cross, who is seeming like he's definitely now adapting to the life at Kaizer Chiefs, and his tackles are still there for days. And I think that it's going to be really difficult for anyone to take that position from him, because I think it's one of those things of, you know, that he gives his all in every game and he tries to fight. I do think that in the previous game, the coach made a slight mistake by making him play so deep, because yes, he can play as part of a back three, but there must be a plan of who is then going to help Usirino on his side, because what ended up happening is Sirino was so isolated on the left side because no one was overlapping to try and maybe get Umobi to back off a bit, because if Ukross was running towards Umobi and then there was Usirino, now Umobi as a 2v1, and if that happens, someone is to come out of midfield to add numbers and equalize on that side, which would then open up space in midfield. But what we saw is that left side was too rigid, and part of it was because Cross was asked to play so deep. Which brings us to this guy, Rashwin Dotley. There's nothing more to say. He's just brilliant. Which brings us to the person who's going to be replacing Inacio Miguel, and that is giving him Simang. We saw him in that game against Marumo Gallants in the Kufa Cup. He did come on, and he also did come on in the other game when we were playing Amazulu, when we were switching to a back five, and then was part of a back three. So he's had some minutes. I do think and hope that he does not get bullied, because unfortunately what has been happening with Simang is that as much as he's a tall guy and you think he's strong, he's been getting bullied by a lot of players. So I hope that that part of his game really does improve, because I still do believe that he's a brilliant footballer who just needs to improve here and there. While we're here, let's reach 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Can we do that? Subscribe if you are new, log into YouTube if you haven't, and just subscribe. And if you are a returning viewer, make sure to like the video and share it with your friends. Let's go to midfield, and the first man would be him. Like, it's just him. Who else could it be? You know, because Jabulo Blom, here's what is going to be offering at Chiefs, which is also going to be very tricky, because what I've seen with Nabi is, I want to mention these two guys at the same time, because it will be paired with Usamgelo Zwane. Why am I talking about both of them at once and not mentioning one and explaining why we need him and blah blah blah? It's because if you've noticed that Usamgelo Zwane, whoever he plays with, if he plays with Mart, he stays deep. That is Samgelo Zwane. If he plays with Castillo, he stays deep. And now I'm interested to see if and when he plays with Blom, if he's still going to be the guy who's staying deep. Because I understand why the coach is doing that. He knows that Samgelo Zwane has a good range of pass, so he plays those diagonal passes. But at the same time, he knows that when it comes to defending and tracking back after like playing that box-to-box role, then the problem is Samgelo Zwane does not do that as effective as the other three guys. Which means, as much as most of you might be wishing that Blom is going to come in and sit deep and defend the back four, I don't think he will, because even in that game against SuperSport United, he opted to play Jabulo Blom as right back and take off Cross. And someone might look at that and say, yeah, it was attacking because Frosler was also adding numbers going forward. But I just also think that he sees Usamkelo Zwane as a deep lying playmaker rather than a box-to-box midfielder. So we will see how they play should they be together. Which then brings us to our star boy number 10, Umfundo Umdushabalala. Why am I saying Umfundo? Umdushabalala. You know, I noted the concerns of some people when they were saying that that game needed, I think was one of the people who said that Uguti, that game needed Umshini because the game we were playing against SuperSport was much slower. The team that we were playing against was much deeper. So you needed Umshini because he could do that. But may I also just add the fact that Mdu can do that. It's just that he needs to be told that, listen, we're now not in freeway, right? This is not an end-to-end game. We are playing a game that is much slower because also as a developing player, there are still some aspects of his games where he thinks he should just, keep on going because, if you are young, you're also thinking looking busy and doing everything means you are doing everything well enough, right? And this is not to say, in common, no. Uncle up. Nsekten is a player who's more explosive. He's a player who's a runner. He's a player who collects the ball, passes and moves and all of that. But Umshin sometimes is that player who just pass a ball here and then the next thing you know, boom, he plays a good pass. Same thing with Umatlo. He's that player who can become, come, and then all of a sudden he finds a pass. So I think that Umtu can also improve that part of his game because he's definitely a preferred player by Nazareth Nabi. So I think that he plays that position well, and I think he will continue doing the same thing. Which brings us to the right winger, which is going to be Umfana Wagaduba. And yes, I know when I bring up Uduba, people bring up Umfundo Vilakazi because Uduba did not have the greatest of games against SuperSport United. But I will also mention no one really can claim that they had a good game against SuperSport United. I think if there's one player I can say that about, it would be Frosler because of how much he was doing going forward and also just adding into midfield. But if you look at the rest, okay, I'm counting people who started because Umfundo Vilakazi had a decent game when he came on. But I'm saying that I don't think we should be jumping on Umfana Wagaduba and saying he's horrible just because in that game he wasn't great. Because most of the times when the ball was played to him, it was long balls and he was always chasing after those balls, and that did not suit him. And I feel like Umfundo Vilakazi, he's in the right position right now of always coming off the bench and doing the job, right? Because he always comes in, it's either people are tired or Unabi sitting with him and showing him, good, listen, you see what's happening right now? That's the space that you're going to go and exploit. And when he comes in, have you noticed that he always comes in, it seems like he just knows what to do. And that's because also you are sitting outside and you are reading the game and you know what you can do when you go in. So I do think that Uduba is still a very good player to play in that position, and Umfundo can always come on second half. Which brings us to another player, Gaston Sireno, arguably our best player right now, and I argue that it might boom too, but him and Sireno up there. And what can I say? I just think that, as I said earlier on when I was talking about Cross, he needs to be helped, not by marking or whatever. He needs to be helped by having someone who's going to help him overload that side, because on his own, as brilliant as he is, we saw against SuperSport, he can't always do it alone. And then it brings us to our last guy, Rangachiva Viro. There's an argument to be made, obviously, that you could play Uduba as a 9 and you could play Mfundo as the right winger. But the problem is now you have too many young players. So Ranga is fine there, although I'm still pretty mad about him shushing us up and then coming back in the following game and offering us nothing at all. But I'm not there. I'm at the place where I'm thinking, against Magesi, it's time for the Chiefs to come back from this loss against SuperSport United and have that confidence going to the big game at the weekend. But what would your starting lineup be? Do let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, we are reaching 50,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching. Go check out the card pack with Tumpilo for other videos from Orlando Pirates and Sundowns at times. You will enjoy them. Good analysis. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals at Pelumoy.